Choose a partner that's good for you. Not good for your parents, not good for your bank account, not good for your image, but good for you. Because that's how you can find true happiness. That's how you can experience amazing relationships. A lot of people are getting caught up with how things look on paper. A lot of people are getting caught up with what they think they want things to be, what they want this person to have, but they're not locked into what they need in order to really be fulfilled and satisfied in a relationship. So what you're seeing is so many mismatched relationships. You're seeing a lot of women choosing to be or accepting to be with men who they're not truly compatible with. Now, let me make clear, I'm someone who believes in there's 3 layers of it: compatibility, chemistry, connection. And I've always argued that compatibility is at the bottom of it because people can look good on paper but still not fit together. However, when we go look at the actual definition of compatibility, it pretty much states 2 people who can live in harmony together, all right? Who don't experience conflict. Now, of course, in life, we're gonna always go through some level of conflict, but overall, they're able to make it work. So we've got to understand the foundation of what creates this disconnect. What tells us, okay, this is not where we can build together with. This is not an individual I can align myself with. So let me bring some things to your awareness, because there's things on this list that people have attempted or have normalized, and this is why people overlook them and end up in bad situations. So the first sign you're not compatible with that man is that you two are always arguing. Now, there's a quote I say, disagreement is acceptable, disrespect is not. All right? There's nothing wrong with you and that man not always seeing things eye to eye. There's nothing wrong with having differing opinions and having discussions, maybe even intellectual debates on these differing positions. However, arguing, when we venture into a negative exchange because we're having this battle of opinions and perspectives, this is a problem, because we're having these hurt feelings escalate into bigger battles again. This is a problem. Now, there are people who will say, well, arguing is healthy. Arguing is normal in a relationship. No, it's common. It's common because there's a lot of people, as I said earlier, who do not belong together, or it's common because there's a lot of people who have not matured enough to have healthy discussion, all right, who have learned how to properly and effectively express themselves, but it is not healthy. It is not okay. It is not normal, as in you should accept it. Believe it or not, there are many relationships out there with 2 people who never argued. Again, maybe they've disagreed before, but they've never argued. That should be the goal. We should not have to reach a negative place to exchange our perceptions and beliefs. But when you keep finding yourself in that position, this is a lack of compatibility, because what is it that is causing you both to always go to this negative space when you guys are trying to have a discussion? Examples could be one or both aren't even trying to embrace what the other person is trying to say. You're listening to rebuttal, not to understand. All right. It could be people not learning how to, again, express themselves. So maybe their tone is harsh. Maybe they're very passive aggressive. They're doing things that get under your skin. Hell, in some situations, it's just due to flat out dismissing how the other individual feels, which I would argue is even a greater sign of a lack of compatibility, because for someone to just flat out dismiss your feelings, disregard you, well, there's no way you can create harmony with this individual. Unless they're willing to change their ways, it's not going to happen. So you've got to be willing to understand that arguing is a huge problem. And again, I made this number 1 because I cannot tell you how many couples, how many people I have talked to who will say, yeah, me and my partner argue all the time. and you still with them. Like it's months, it's years later, and you're still with them. It's like they're just saying it like, yeah, it's just a part of life. No. And here's the other thing I want you to understand as to why arguing should not be accepted. If someone has to always argue with their partner, it really puts negative energy within you that now lingers out through the day. It may linger with you for the whole week, for months. It will start to destroy your overall quality of life, your mental and emotional health, all right? It will add unnecessary stress to you. And relationships should not add unnecessary stress. They should help you deal with the stress that life brings. Not your partner should be bringing, but life brings. Your partner should be helping you de-stress, if anything. So again, if you are constantly arguing, that is definitely a sign you are not compatible with this man. All right, so now the second sign you are not compatible with this man is you are not genuinely attracted to him. So, how should I start with this? Here's the thing. There's a lot of women out there who rationalize giving a man a chance who they're not truly or genuinely attracted to. It might be due to family pressure. It might be your own rationalization where he's a nice guy. I already tried these other guys who were better looking and none of it worked. So let me give this less attractive man an opportunity. It may be because it feels safer. You may feel like, well, maybe if he's not that great looking or I'm not that attracted to him, he'll appreciate me more. Like if I'm the better looking one here, maybe then I have less to worry about. It's also a false sense of security. Well, he's not that attractive, so that means women aren't all after him, so I have less to worry about him stepping out on me. If you've been cheated on, you may feel like this is the way to go. I can go down a long list of reasons why women do it, but they do it. They do it, and it's not the right way to go. The reason why, again, it's a sign of incompatibility is because remember what the definition is. It's creating harmony with this person. When you are not genuinely attracted to the man, your ability to show up in the ways that he will need will be severely hindered, all right? You might be able to get through it initially. You might be able to push through it, but you will not be able over the long run to consistently do the things that he will need you to do. One quick example or story was, I know one woman, this is many years ago, I spoke to her, and she was dating a man. She wasn't that attracted to him, but in this situation, he would help her with bills. He provided a level of safety and security. And so she went along with it. Now, of course, him being a man, him being a human being, he's going to want intimacy in this relationship, right? This woman, true story, told me that she had to drink every time it was time to get intimate. She had to have several drinks and get liquored up to be able to tolerate laying down with this man. That was the level of lack of attraction that existed in this situation. Now, clearly that's unhealthy. One, because you shouldn't have to become an alcoholic or a druggie just so you can sleep with your partner, all right? Not to mention that, just imagine how, if I'm your partner and I find out that you can never do this unless you have a drink, how that can make him feel. Now, some guys may not care because as long as they're getting it, right? But there's other individuals that can also have a negative impact on them psychologically. And then imagine, like, what are you going to do? So let's say they would have went on a trip and there's no liquor store around. So now she can't sleep with him, or she does and it's a horrible experience. You get it. That's not the way to go. Now, granted, not every situation is that extreme, but it still speaks to the fact that it's a struggle to still be as intimate with him, to show the level of desire that he wants. And here's the reality. Whether people want to admit it or not, the less attracted you are to someone, well, other things start to fall off. A level of respect can start to fall off. Resentment can kick in, all right? The way that you communicate with this individual can start to be affected. So much starts to go wrong because there's not an attraction there to them. It's like, I don't want to don't quote me on this, but I remember there's supposed to be like some study that says like how very attractive people get treated better or get promoted more at work, things of that nature. There's this natural thing that happens that when we are attracted to someone, we bring a better energy and attitude towards them. Maybe not everybody does that, but it is a common thing. So when there isn't that attraction in your own relationship, problem. So all that to say this, I know people will say, well, it's not all about looks and looks will fade. Granted, but health can fade too, but you're not running to the ER to find your next date. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you mean? Like, just because it can fade doesn't mean you don't want it right now. And understand that we're not talking about looks, we're talking about attraction. So if this man is not an attractive person in general, other people may not view him as all that good looking, right? But you still are genuinely attracted to him. Maybe he stimulates your mind. Maybe there's other aspects about him that really raise your attraction to him. As long as the attraction is there and is genuine, that's what matters. Attraction doesn't have to fade, all right? The way we look as we get older and life hits us can change, but attraction can be maintained. Yes, physically plays a role, but there's other things that play a role too. You have to have that if you want to maintain and sustain, that's the key word, sustain a healthy romantic relationship. So do not let anyone convince you otherwise. Do not feel guilted into giving men an opportunity that you're not really feeling like that. It's not going to work. And those people pushing you into that kind of a relationship, well, guess what? They ain't got to wake up next to him. I was going to say his ugly behind, but that was going to be so horrible. You know what? Edit that out. I don't want to say that. You ain't got to wake up. They don't got to wake up next to him. Okay? So it's not for them to make the decision here. You got to do what's best for you, and you've got to hold on to the principles that are important for you. All right, so now we move on to number 3. And the third sign you are not compatible with him is that you guys have different spiritual beliefs. So this is a question that comes up a lot. Is like, can you be with someone that believes in different things than you? Let's just use the example. Maybe you're a Christian woman and this man, let's just say he doesn't even believe in God. Okay. And here's the reality of it. I mean, I know most people, Christian, Muslim, whatever, understand the idea of being unequally yoked and understand that it is not suggested or it's not encouraged to be with someone that you are unequally yoked with, because there's a lot that can go wrong. However, to give you a full perspective on this issue, because some people would argue, well, listen, they can respect what your beliefs are and you guys don't have to conflict to where you guys can maintain a relationship. Yes and no. Here's the thing. This issue will show itself to be a problem. One, it depends on how strongly the individuals feel about their belief systems. So essentially, if both parties are, let's just say, very passive believers, all right, they're not active in walking out some of the principles of their belief systems. Well, then yes, if they're only believers by label, it's possible for them to maintain a relationship where there's no conflict, all right? However, what I have seen is that in most people's lives, at some point, one or both of those individuals will go from being passive to more passionate in their belief. Once they kick into being more passionate about their belief system, this is where the conflict ensues. This is where we're going to see a lot of disagreements and arguments and issues that pop up. So it's a dynamic that you might be able to get away with for a little bit, but it will come back to haunt you. And it's like, why do we want to set ourselves up for this delayed, inevitable destruction of our relationship that we could have pinpointed from the very beginning? All right. And picture it like this. Like, let's just say you guys get married. You guys have kids. And now there becomes a disagreement with how we want to raise these kids, what we want to instill in them. That is enough to now create a huge rift in the relationship and break things apart. Another layer of this to consider is if you are, let's say you are a believer dealing with a non-believer. And again, this can happen whether it's two believers, but two believers of different systems, different belief systems. All right. What comes along with that from a spiritual perspective? So here's the thing. Here's the caveat. If you believe in the spiritual realm, and I'm someone who does believe in it, I'm someone who has experienced a lot of spiritual things, a lot of supernatural experiences. So to me, you can't tell me it's not real. And what I can tell you is that if you believe in that, or even if you don't, but if you believe in it, there are things that come attached with people who are dibbling and dabbling into different spiritualities, and which can then create spiritual conflict within that household for you, and other battles you will now have to engage in, so to speak. So there are ramifications for dealing with people who are not in alignment with you, and understanding what you may be bringing into your household by doing this. Again, the more detached you are spiritually, so it kind of goes back to being a passive believer. The more detached you are spiritually, the less likely you are to see these things. But the more passionate or the more in tune you get spiritually, the more clear the disconnect becomes, the more clear the issues are going to start to arise or become to you. So all this to say, it is, in my opinion, a clear sign you should not move forward together. Now, I have heard of situations where, like, one comes to mind where there was a guy who didn't believe, he believed in God, but it was like, you know, other than that, he doesn't go any further than that. He just believes in God, but that's pretty much where his belief system stops. And there was a woman who was a Christian. And he said, listen, I'm willing to honor and respect what she believes. I'll go to church with her. We can raise the kids that way. I'm down for all of that. I'm just saying, I just stop at my belief is in God, and that's it. Do I think that could possibly work? Yes. Because nothing he's doing and believing in is coming in direct conflict with her. That's more of an example of he's at a level 1 in his belief, and she might be at a level 9, so to speak. All right. So he's not in a different system. He's just at a quote unquote lower level of it. Now, I'm not saying that means you should move forward with a man like that. I'm simply saying that's a much more workable scenario than someone who believes something completely different than you. All right. And you have to understand how that can wreak havoc if you were to try to move forward with that individual. So now we move on to the fourth reason, and the fourth sign that you're not compatible with this man is that you can't be yourself with him. So one of the things that I have observed with a lot of relationships, a lot of dating situations, is that people are presenting their representative, okay? And they're trying to behave and act a certain way in order to move things along and make this relationship work. And sometimes that wins them a relationship, and sometimes it doesn't. The unfortunate or the thing that's being overlooked is that if you do that and you get a relationship, what are you really getting? Because you have not established if they really like you. Not who you were trying to present yourself to be, but who you really are. All right? And so what you'll find is these situations where everything's going well at first because, again, people are still bringing their representative. But no one can suppress the real them forever, all right? At some point, whether it's just getting comfortable, whether it's they just can't fight it anymore, whether they just think the coast is clear now, the true self starts to come out. And now it is possible that once this person, this man sees the true self, is like, yo, that's not what I signed up for. This is not what I wanted. Had I seen that from day one, we would have never gotten this far. And this is why it's so important to establish as early as possible, tapping into who you really are and presenting that woman. All right? Because if you can't be yourself with him, then you don't know if you're ending up with the right person. But forget just him for a second. You can't live your life like this. You can't be happy trying to play into this character that doesn't really align with you. You will not be at peace if that's the approach you continue to take. So, and let me also say this. How, I'm big on the connection thing. How can we say we have connection if we're not being true to ourselves? You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm a believer that when there's connection there, it pulls our true self out. It just naturally happens, but it's something to be mindful of, because I'll see people say, oh, we have a connection. It's like, but you've yet to be yourself. So what do you mean you have a connection? No, you guys have an attachment. You guys have an attachment to this representative, to this fake person that has been presented in this situation. So anyways, the point here is simple. You've got to be you. And if not, and not just you got to be you, we're hoping that he's also being him. All right? Y'all have to be able to be yourselves with each other. And sometimes, a lot of times, that means revealing aspects about us that maybe we have yet to become fully confident about. We have yet to stand strong in. And that's why it's so important that if you are currently single, you get comfortable with the real you now. You find how to build confidence in the real you now, so that you are not hiding from it when you meet someone. So you're not playing these games and misrepresenting yourself when you meet a potential partner. You've got to be able to walk in your truth. And that will help expose so much quicker. Is this a man you can be with, or is this a man you need to move on from? Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So there's this beautiful quote I love to post, and it says, "The next time love visits you, I pray that it stays." And I genuinely, truly do pray that you experience an amazing, awesome love